Okay, everyone, we have reached Friday. Congratulations on that. We're looking forward to another weekend of Celtic action. And Joe is back on the channel. Hello, Joe.
How's it going?
Oh, short and snappy. I don't mind it. Is it going to be one of those videos? What's been happening, Joe? We've not had you on since before the derby. We're not going to discuss that, though, of course.
No. We're speaking off camera about perhaps misplaced confidence on my part, which I don't regret. I think Celtic went into that game showing us that they were confident and up for it, and they weren't. That's all I'm willing to say. A lot of times passed in between. It was great to be back watching the Hearts game last week, and of course we're looking forward to St Johnstone as well. So no, I've been good. And wounds are more than licked and dusted off, or whatever cliche you want to roll out. But nah, looking forward to hopefully getting this league wrapped up soon as well.
Yes, and we can take a step towards that this weekend. We play St Johnstone on Sunday. I think needing 3 more wins for the title. One of those could happen on Sunday. We may need slightly less than that. It may just be 2 wins, but 3 at the moment, the way we're looking at it. So, yeah, we'll discuss that game at the end a little bit. Also going to have a video tomorrow looking ahead to that game. But first of all, let's get through what's been happening this week, because it's been a pretty busy week. League reconstruction is back, Joe. That brilliant topic that we all love. News earlier in the week that the SPFL are looking to reduce the league to 10 teams, the Scottish Premiership to 10 teams, 36 matches per season per team, both down 2 from the current setup, in order to ease the fixture congestion caused by bad old UEFA competition. However, the developments in the last couple of days, it's now been reported by a few outlets that a 10-team league isn't going to be a goer. Any motion would require 11 of the 12 Premiership clubs, 75% of the Premiership and Championship teams, plus 75% of all 42 SPFL sides. Not confusing at all. That's from Sky Sports. That's slightly different to what I read earlier in the week, actually. So, not sure exactly what's going on there. But Sky say that a 10-team plan would fall short on at least one of those measures. So, it seems like 10-team league isn't going to be voted through. So what else are they discussing? Discussing a 12-club Premiership format. Sounds kind of familiar. So they're discussing changing to the format we've got. I don't know. Plus 14 or 16 team leagues. They're also being considered. St Johnstone already said to be against a move to a 10-team league. Their owner, Adam Webb, reckons it would be a big mistake. And the meeting's to take place on April the 29th, so end of this month. Joe, over to you. What are you thinking?
I don't know.
Do you care?
You discussed this earlier in the week about, potentially Celtic, like some of the European leagues, would have those weekends off if they've got big European fixtures coming up. Very selfishly. You asked, do you care? I mean, honestly, as it affects Celtic, not really. I mean, I'm of a certain vintage to remember 10 leagues in the top flight anyway. When it changed to 12, I didn't really notice much of a difference. There was still four Celtic and Rangers games in the season. There was still Celtic in Europe at every opportunity. Like you said, when you start to read that out there, I hadn't actually read that from Sky Sports. I might have already said in this channel I missed my maths exam at school because I went to Seville. So maths is certainly not my forte. And when you start throwing those numbers at me, I've got a bit of a complex. Let me see it in motion. Let me see Celtic getting some more concessions in these busy fixture schedules. And yeah, maybe it'll make more sense to us then.
Yeah. I wonder when they're talking about the 12-team league, whether a possibility they're looking at is maybe like splitting the league after 2 matches per team, rather than obviously the current 3. And I think that would take you to 32 matches per season. So I wonder if that's what they're going to end up looking at here. But obviously you're then losing 3 home games per team, 3 home gates per team. You can't charge as much with season tickets, etc. Less of an issue for Celtic, but I guess for clubs like St Johnstone that could be a bit of an issue. So I wonder what they're going to do here. I just, as you say, from a Celtic point of view, it doesn't massively matter to me. I know a lot of people want a bigger league, and I know you'd maybe miss out on more of the derby matches and matches against the other top teams, but the feeling would maybe be they'd be more special then. But personally, I think the derbies I mean, you could have 7 derbies a season. We have had 7 derbies a season, and they've still all been incredible. So I'm not massively fussed about that either. So that's the latest. 10-team league doesn't seem like it's going to be a goer. So basically pick a number and we'll see what happens there. I'm sure there'll be developments there. I'm going to switch things up slightly. A leaked image of Jota inside Celtic Park yesterday, wearing a new kit that looks suspiciously like a Bumblebee top. Now, I believe it's already been suggested that the Bumblebee will return for the first time in a decade and the first time under Adidas. That was back in November. So is this what we're looking at, Joe? Are we looking at our Bumblebee kit for next season?
Yeah, from all the digging, this, not least this image, but from all the digging I could do on social media, it appears that this is legit, that it's not photoshopped, and this has been a leaked image behind the scenes. You're right, back in November, I think it was Footy Headlines, they're a prolific site for leaks across world football, not just Celtic, and they'd said that there was a Bumblebee incoming, and they confirmed the colour palette. I can't remember exactly what it was, something neon and black. And I love there is no Bumblebee. Despite the lack of success in the 09-10 season under Tony Mowbray, the return of the Bumblebee, the night one, was a cracker. Magner's had a sort of Bumblebee-ish when, rather New Balance with the Magners on the front, 2015 or so. It reminds me of Jozo Simonovic for some reason. I'm not sure if he did the promo.
Reminds me of Ajax away and drawn 2-2 away to Ajax.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't remind me of any game for some reason. I'm not sure why Ajax doesn't come to my mind, because obviously they did wear it then. But wasn't really a Bumblebee. I was expecting a Bumblebee. This one is more like the 98-99 away kit. Green collar, lime green collar, slim pinstripes, Umbro as the sponsor and the manufacturer. Reminds me of Henrik with the dreads. It's not as nice, to be honest. I was hoping for a cut and dry, yellowy neon, black hooped, vintage Bumblebee top. It's all right. I don't know. I'd need to see it in person. I'm a sucker for the kits. I'm probably too old to be getting so invested in them when the images get leaked. But with that one image, I'm not massively against it. But I was expecting a Bumblebee, and it's kind of a wee bit of a disappointment from there. I don't know about you.
A cop out? Is that what you're saying? I don't mind it. It's I think that's quite nice. I've not really had a chance to look at the online feeling. I'm guessing it's fairly negative, because that tends to be what happens online. But I would buy that, definitely.
I mean, all these kits need and especially when you're not wearing a pair of Jota's a stylish man, but you're not wearing a pair of probably Celtic Gazelles if he's promoting them, and baggy jeans when they're kitted out. All it takes is a big result, doesn't it? A big one in Europe, or normally against Hibs they'll wear that, and if it's Easter Road and they get a big result, it often kind of weighs in its favour. But it'll cost what, £70, among another 4 strips next season, one of which they won't wear, but it's a different conversation.
You've obviously been inside the club in the past, so would this be like a photo shoot that's going on at this time of season?
Yeah, I'd say so. I know that there will be individuals in that marketing team that won't be happy with the leak. It's a tough one. Leaks are so commonplace in the world now, aren't they? I'm now working in the video games industry, specialist media, and there's leaks there all the time. There's leaks in every single industry all over. It happens a lot at Celtic. It happens a lot. It seems to have happened a lot with Adidas. The fact that image, assuming that it's legitimate, is so square on, I think they'll probably be able to identify who took the photo, which doesn't bode well for that person. But yeah, I'd say it looks real to me.
Yeah. Team news getting leaked, of course, as well. Still, I think it was ahead of the derby, wasn't it? So, yeah, various things at the club that maybe aren't ideal. But it means we can get to talk about it, so maybe it's not all bad. Okay, bit of transfer stuff yesterday. There was a couple of updates. I don't know what was going on yesterday, but we suddenly had loads of transfer chat. Again, I wonder if that's no coincidence, and I wonder if Celtic are just trying to get a bit of excitement going, briefing a couple of journalists who I think they do brief. We had Scott Burns at the Daily Record and David Friel at the Scottish Sun. I'll just skim through these because there's a lot of information. So the Scott Burns stuff, The big takeaway, I think he's saying that priority positions for us in the summer, central midfield, central defensive midfield and right wing. So potentially 2 midfielders coming in, maybe Real Hatate moves on and you sign maybe Lennon Miller, who I get, one of the other reports yesterday was that Motherwell might want 4 million plus for Lennon Miller, and that could go up if there's more interest in him. We've been linked with Augsburg, another Augsburg player, Elvis Rex Bikaj, I believe you pronounce that. Obviously the right wing chat potentially means that Nicholas Kuhn could be off. Update on Dinamo Zagreb pushing to get a deal done for Greg Taylor as well. I think Brendan Rodgers basically confirmed at the weekend he would be going. Also interest in the MLS for Greg Taylor. What do you make of the defensive midfield stuff? It's a bit of an interesting one. It's one of the positions we've really failed to sign quality in recent years. You think like Idiguchi, Abelgard, McCarthy, Iwata to an extent. Now I think it was a mistake to let Tomoki Iwata go personally. I think he would have done a great job alongside Cal McGregor, but maybe he wanted to play whatever. But the club potentially looking at a deeper midfielder.
Yeah, and I think if ever it was evident, it was the Rangers game. I know we said we wouldn't speak about it, but when Cal McGregor comes out of that team, it's just so stark. And actually, like, I'm not making excuses for that day. There was a number of reasons why it didn't go well there, but that was the epicenter of the disappointment that day. It's not just about when Cal McGregor's not there; it's when you bring him back in. You saw against Hearts that ball he plays for Daizen Maeda for the opening goal. It's just that presence of mind, that quick thinking, that always being in space, and you perhaps don't notice those things in the moment, but it's when you're kind of casting an analytical eye over Celtic in those kind of deep line midfield areas afterwards that you realise just how important he is. He just understands how Daizen Maeda moves. And I know watching, Daizen Maeda, you just know if you can keep him on side and play him in, but obviously it's not as simple as that. It's those, tenth of a second moments that make that difference. And you're right. I mean, you rung off a number of players there, and Tomoki Iwata really is the only one that of that glut of players that you'd have wanted to keep. And of course, almost immediately after leaving Celtic, he was making waves and scoring goals and looking like one that perhaps got away, kind of slipped through our fingers. But how many times have you heard Callum McGregor himself talking about how important competition for places is in this Celtic squad, and yet that position there is almost, if he's fit, it's guaranteed. And that's the way it should be for the captain. But Scott Brown had Callum McGregor. Who has Callum McGregor got in this instance? So I think having, and when you saw that one I think it was 2018-19, if memory serves, Scott Brown had a couple of injuries and Callum McGregor just dropped back into that position. It was almost seamless, and we don't have that just now. I think players like Luke McCown, when he steps in, was still playing kind of a little bit further forward. It was Arne Engels who was doing that role, that kind of line role, but it's not his natural position either. So listen, at this point in the season, I say it when it's coming up to the January window, and I say it from now, the 1st of April onwards. It's when all the speculation starts happening that it gets exciting, especially for us on this side, but even just as a fan who's not contributing to podcasts or whatever. It's this sublime to the ridiculous, but it's great to see that those areas are being identified, even with those stalwart players there as well. And the right wing, will Nicholas Kuhn stay? That's going to be a big talking point over the next few months. Obviously, James Forrest is coming back in, but he's 34, I want to say, in the summer. I'm sure he's 1991. So I mean, he's showing little signs of slowing down, not least when he came back into the team last January. Not that one there, but the one before, towards the end of the season. But with him aging, and with Nicholas Kuhn possibly going out, it's good to see them talking about these positions. Scott Burns, reliable journalist, so whenever these things come in, you think of the club spoken to him. David Friel, the same, lovely guy, great journalist, used to work at the club. So whenever these bylines pop up, it's worth paying attention to. They've come from somewhere, so it's not just paper talk or tabloid speculation. So yeah, long may it continue. I mean, it's all right having speculation. You need to nail them down. We're still a little bit away from that in terms of the window opening, but you're always talking about trying to get business done sooner, and obviously that starts with talks. So yeah, it's great to see.
The McGregor stuff's interesting because I mean, he's 32 this summer. You always have, when you're talking about players' age, you always have a tendency to say what age they're going to be, which I think is kind of unfair. But he's 31 at the moment. I think June is his birthday. And I guess maybe the ideal scenario would be that McGregor doesn't have to play every game. You could have someone who comes in and, I mean, again, I just think someone like Iwata would have been perfect for that. But we don't know exactly what happened there. The report from David Friel is that Michel Ange Balikwisha is back on the radar. We scouted him at the weekend playing for Antwerp in Belgium. They lost 5-1 to the aforementioned Unwan Saint Gillois. And there's also a couple of USG players who we've been linked with here. Noah Sadiki, who is a defensive midfielder. He's represented Belgium at youth level. He's now playing for DR Congo. Said to be quite sought after, 20 years old. And they've also got Franjo Ivanovic, who I believe is a forward. Leon tried to sign him last year. He's with USG as well. So seems like Belgium's a place we're looking at, and maybe scouting a few players there. And again, it's obviously emerged the players that we were looking at. So it seems like there's some sort of interest there. Balikwisha seems like he's quite a talent, but he's had some injury problems as well. I think he's missed significant time in the past couple of seasons. I think it's like a thigh injury that kept him out for 3-4 months at the start of this season. So a bit of a concern there. I think he's out of contract at the end of next season, and they're talking about £5 million there. So potentially he's the guy we're looking at. I think it's going to be a winger we look at rather than a striker. Brendan Rodgers has kind of suggested that, and I just personally don't think you'd be moving Daizen Maeda from being a striker at the moment. He's playing too well. You can't move him back to left wing now for me. So yeah, it might be a winger we're after.
I think so, and I mean, I say this all the time. At the moment, Daizen Maeda's reward for, not reward, but his leeway for playing up front for 70 minutes whenever Adamida comes off the bench is you get to slot in at left wing and someone, or you go on the wing and someone comes off in his position. He's just so fit. But you're right, I mean, he's on fire. If I know there's talk about extending the contract and things like that, but assuming Celtic can keep hold of him in the short to long term, really, it doesn't matter. I mean, I say short, I mean maybe even just next season or whatever. But if he keeps this form up in any way, there's no way that you can even look to replace him. And with Adamida here for a longer spell, giving you something different off the bench in terms of that stature in a striker. And whatever Kenny has or MDL's coming through, in terms of that kind of third striker as well. It's interesting because, with if someone had said to you this time last year that Kyogo would have left in January before the Champions League campaign had even wrapped up, you'd be thinking, right, we absolutely need a striker. And all of a sudden, being a realistic supporter and thinking they're not going to replace in every single position, what are the priorities? And as you say, winger has to be it. I think, like we said before, central midfield for sure, and that defensive side, and probably covering and left back. I know that Kieran Tierney's coming in, but something needs to be there, because if Greg Taylor's leaving, realistically, I think we know that Kieran Tierney probably isn't going to give us a full season's worth. I mean, brilliant if he does, but it's not been if history suggests anything, it's not been the case so far in his career.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Brendan Rodgers has said a few times that he thinks it's easier to sign a winger than a striker for Celtic, and I kind of get what he means. I reckon there's more wingers out there who could come in and do really well for us than strikers. We've had a lot of really good strikers recently. I think we've got quite a good track record, but there have been a few over the years that have kind of flattered to deceive a fair bit. So for me, if you've got someone like Daizen, who, if we keep him, and obviously we all pray and hope that we will, you've kind of got a guarantee of, I think with Daizen up front for a full season next year, you've kind of got 30 goals guaranteed again. Could you sign someone who's going to guarantee you 30 goals? They're probably going to cost a fair amount of money. We saw how much Ida cost at the start of the season, and he does nowhere near 30 goals. And by the way, I like Adam Ida, and I think Ida and Maeda as forwards next season's good. Just sign a winger, 2 if Kuhn moves on. I'm sure we'll be fine, Joe. Celtic always give us exactly what we want in the transfer window. You've been watching a few Celtic TV interviews. You don't need to go through them all. Was there anything major came out from any of them?
Nah, I mean, fair play to Celtic TV that in a week where we're kind of building up to another big fixture, there seemed to be more than usual, which is nice. It's always good to see. It's always, and I get why it needs to be like this. I've obviously been on club media as well. A lot of it's by numbers. Delighted for the last game to win, looking forward to the next one, etc., etc. But no, it was good. It was good to see Cameron Carter-Vickers just talking about the pride he takes in being deputy. If I was being really cynical, I love Cameron Carter-Vickers. I'm not sure that for me he is the ample deputy on the pitch. I don't know if he talks enough for me personally. Maybe I'm being overcritical. I think an Alistair Johnson is a more obvious choice for me personally. I might receive criticism for that, but it's still great to see the players done. Yeah, definitely. This is internet. But I think it's great to see him. He's not going to come on, especially at club media, and say, no, I hate being the skipper. But seeing that passion and someone who doesn't give too much emotion generally is always welcome. Sinisalo did an interview as well, just saying that he's kind of grabbing things by both hands. And I think more than ever against Hearts, you saw that. I wasn't tested too much over the course. Obviously, Celtic had the game buried by half time. But there's that save he makes at 0-0. Corner comes in, ball bounces just as it comes off the corner, and then the Hearts player, I forget who it is, comes on to it just as Alistair Johnson's come across his line of sight. Now the ball comes right at him, and if it's a goal, you'd probably be critical of the goalkeeper, but nevertheless, it was good reactions and smart, and then helps Celtic. Ball breaks away, and Celtic are on the attack after that. But I think these little moments, without overly stating the obvious, are massive to a young keeper coming in full of confidence. I don't think it's rare that you ever see a goalkeeper being interviewed and you think, oh, he doesn't seem confident, but he does seem really assured, especially for a young keeper that has stepped into for the best keeper in Scotland for sure, and such a big character's shoes, and seems to be taking it in his stride. So yeah, more of the same from him. Nicholas Kuhn saying kind of similar as well. Interesting to see Nicholas Kuhn just given the kind of very same interviews that he was given at the start of the season. I know that it's a well-trodden cliche from footballers to say that they never get too high, they never get too low, they kind of try to stay on a level. As fans, we're absolutely brutal. Obviously, Nicholas Kuhn has come off the boil quite a bit in recent weeks, but then again against Hearts he contributes that brilliant assist for Dyson's second, and it's because he set his standards so high at the start of the season that drop-off felt quite significant. Obviously the European performances, Leipzig among them, and he has been. I mean, I think he's been due, or I think fans have been entitled to be critical, but perhaps we do overstep a wee bit. He's been seen fans saying he's been terrible. He's just dropped off considerably because of how good he was. But no, the team looking in good shape, and obviously this will be another challenge up at McDiarmid Park on Sunday. But yeah, they're not going to come out and say, no, we're not looking forward to it, but nevertheless, it's good when they are firing all cylinders and all pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, I think you're right about Nicholas Kuhn, to be honest. I think as fans, we are, a club like Celtic, we're hypercritical. I mean, I'm on here doing videos virtually every day, and there's always stuff you have to comment on the last game, and you can kind of, I think the thing, you're only as good as your last game is so true at Celtic, and Kuhn clearly dropped off from what we saw at the start of the season, but I thought Saturday, after a kind of shaky start, I thought he really came on. He had the assist for the Jota goal as well, with the lobbed pass over.
So he did, of course, yeah.
For Maida's goal, so a real good impact, and hopefully he can kick on. He was pretty good at St Johnstone last time, so it'd be good to see another game from him on Sunday, and just finish the season strongly. Just on that, another game, another opportunity for the team. St Johnstone still bottom of the league, but they have picked up a bit under Simo Valakari. So yeah, any concerns about this one? I don't know what the pitch will be like at McDiarmid Park, but we'll have 3 stands of Celtic fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's again, it's stating the obvious, but it's a little tone setter, isn't it? Going and playing against St Johnstone, obviously not too far away from the Hampden game, which is the most important of the two. I mean, we want to go on Sunday and take another step towards the league title, obviously. But this lead that Celtic are forced at the top of of the table is just, we get complacent. You know, it's why everyone was freaking out after the Rangers game, and there was criticism that was absolutely due. But then to go 13 points and to have this cushion, it is incredible. I think, and I'm as guilty of this as anyone. I do think we take it for granted that we've been so dominant at the start of the season that we're so far ahead. But nevertheless, you know, you expect a good game. I do think the pitch at McDermott Park is, especially this kind of leaving winter into spring, where it's, you know, you're getting some sun, but then equally you could have a really kind of downpour day, whatever, and it's still quite cold at certain points. I remember, again, working in club media and being up there and being pitch level after these games, waiting for the manager and the players to come out. And something that I don't think I'd ever noticed on TV or even in the stands, I've been up there once as a fan, but at pitch level after 90 minutes of football, it was like a ploughed field. It was absolutely shocking. And I am one of the biggest critics of plastic pitches in Scotland. You know, if we're going to be a top, or considered as a top flight league, and, you know, if we want to take ourselves seriously, how could we possibly have plastic pitches in the top level? McDermott Park after 90 minutes is actually an argument for, because it's not conducive to the kind of football that Celtic play. Having said that, obviously the last time they were up there, 6-0, and I mean, if we look back on this season as a whole, that game probably will be up there with one of the best in terms of application, you know, Brendan Rodgers' tactics, that relentlessness, that high press, the counter press whenever they lost the ball, the goals themselves, the subs. It was that was a really good afternoon or evening, I can't remember, of football. So no, more of the same. I don't think St Johnstone have scored against Celtic yet this season, 2 games, that's right. 4-0 at Celtic Park last time, I think.
Yeah, it was kind of festive game.
Yeah, I should have looked this up before coming on so I could at least pretend to be professional, but I'm sure it was 6-4. The comments will tell me if I'm wrong, obviously. Yeah.
You feel like we'll be all right though, don't you? Like,
yeah.
There's, I mean, you obviously you treat every game with respect, and I think the team will, and there's not any other real distractions at the moment. And I thought generally against Hearts it was pretty good. So you just feel like we'll be fine, and hopefully score a few goals. Any particular players you want to see? I mean, with someone, I guess Yang's probably not going to come in for a game like this, given that Kuhn did quite well last week.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it's just getting over the finish line now for me. It's just getting the league wrapped up as soon as possible, put us in a great position. I mean, we're already in a great position for a treble, but put us in a good position to be pushing into that semi-final game. Hopefully there's no issues there as well. It's great seeing James Forrest back in the pitch, obviously last week, having been out for so long. I'd really like to see James score a goal at some point this season. It's amazing that, as far as I'm aware, I don't think he's scored, unless in my memories.
And he's got an immense record at McDermott Park.
He does.
He scored 4 goals and a half.
Right.
I think
that was after getting sent off in Europe as well. That was a kind of, he gets sent off against, I want to say, Salzburg that year in Europa League.
You're right, he's not scored this season.
Yeah. And if he scores this season, that'll have scored every year since... I mean, I've got a soft spot for him. When I was in club media, I wrote his book with him, you know. But on that point, I mean, he is a... That sounded like a plug. I don't get any money for it, don't worry. It's now 6 years out of date. But no, he's a lovely guy. And not in any way... I mean, obviously, over the course of being in club media, much as I got on with all the players, there are some that were more like football players than others in terms of being a bit more egocentric. It's part of the course. He is not one bit at all. Takes it all in his stride, and I'd love him to score, and therefore that gets him up there as well. So
yeah, come on, James, do it. He'll probably have to do it off the bench, but he'll probably get an opportunity off the bench. But yeah, his record up at McDermott Park is immense. He's probably scored like double figures up there over his career, so hopefully that continues. Okay, Joe, we'll let you get off and get some sleep, and we'll catch up with you very soon. Thanks again. Great, everyone. Appreciate you watching this. And I'm going to do a video tomorrow ahead of the game. We'll have press conferences later today, so we can chat about some of that stuff, do a predicted 11, wee bit more build up to the match. So join me on Saturday morning. If not, I'll chat to you after the game.